great Barack Obama, the hero of the left, the hero of the Democratic Party, the man who gets up and speaks, says, oh my God, Black Jesus is in the house today, right? He goes and campaigns, and this is the worst loss of his career, my opinion. This is what I think. Worst loss of his, I think the worst night of his life was November 5th, November 6th, midnight. Worst day of his career. Horrible. You're seeing right now speculation with him, Jennifer Aniston. His wife wasn't at the Jimmy Carter, funeral.
Curiosity about the case, and now Donald J. Trump is asking his Department of Justice to show full transparency, and somehow that's a criticism of Donald J. Trump and not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. If you want to criticize the people who aren't showing full transparency, you ought to go after the administrations that went easy on Jeffrey Epstein, the administrations...
It's kind of crazy how some leaders leave a legacy more talked about than others.
It's interesting how some leaders leave behind a legacy that sparks more conversation than others. And Barack Obama, whether admired or criticized, certainly stands out as one of them.
Like, go back to it. You can do that. We don't have to agree politically. I still want to find a way for us to be able to hear each other out and disagree on policies, and I want to see them be together. I don't root for them to not make it. You want to see them make it. However, body language, these guys haven't been living together for a long time. I mean, when he's going and having breakfast with his girls and the wife is not there and he's going to funerals and traditional presidential, things that you have to be a part of, and she's not there at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Maybe not Trump's, I get it, but...
Here's the twist. Patrick Bet-David and JD Vance, both outspoken voices, are diving into the Obama story. And their take makes things look far less glamorous than the image we've long been sold of him as a groundbreaking leader.
Like the way MAGA feels with Trump when he talks about Epstein. How upset they are at Trump about Epstein. The Democrats are upset at Obama because they're saying you're doing this. They're putting the responsibility on him, right? On the messaging here. Adam, your thoughts on this when you see, what Whoopi...
Obama's speeches had a melodic quality that promised hope and change. But Patrick Bet-David and JD Vance argue that behind the glittering talk there was far less substance than expected. While he was hailed as a unity figure, his presidency may have sown more division than growth. And with expectations already sky high, the two don't hold back in questioning everything from his chaotic healthcare reform to his foreign policies and domestic performance, ultimately suggesting that the glowing praise may have been little more than a masterful marketing.
The only thing the far left really responds to is power. The thing that they're actually going to be responsive to is the recognition that there are consequences on the other side. If they get off scot-free, if they're never investigated, if they're never prosecuted when they violated the law, then they're just going to come back and do the exact same thing again. And there are a few different ways, of course. So it's the big tech companies that were censoring conservatives. They've got to know that's not going to be...
It's single quotes as pretty intense and eye-opening. And if you're into dissecting political legacies and exposing truths, this is one to pay attention to so seriously. Subscribe to the channel. It helps a ton, keeps me motivated, and makes sure you don't miss a beat as we dive into these controversial waters. The story of Obama's so-called greatness is mind-blowing once you dig into the details. And Patrick Bet-David and JD Vance are doing just that, cutting through the hype to show how much of his presidency may have been more glitter than gold. At first glance, Obama looked like the poster child for transformational politics. His campaign nailed the branding with hope, change, and powerful speeches that made people believe real shifts were coming, but Patrick and JD argue there's a massive gap between what was promised and what was actually delivered. Take healthcare. The Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare, was pitched as a revolutionary fix for the U.S. system. But its rollout was marred by website crashes, skyrocketing premiums, and confusion that left many questioning whether the cure was worse than the disease. Yes, more people got insured, but Patrick asks, at what cost? And beyond healthcare, the economic challenges Obama inherited, particularly the recession, tested his administration's ability to pull the country back onto solid ground, leaving critics to wonder whether the results ever matched the source.
We'll go to the next topic here, which is Adam's top topic, talking about Obama saying every man needs a gay friend. So Obama goes on his wife's podcast, okay? And they're sitting there having this conversation, and it opens, they covered a lot of different things. Right off the bat, they talked about the divorce. Hey, aren't we supposed to be getting a divorce and all this stuff? Just tell me if this seems like they woke up together in the same bed this morning.
The recession officially ended during Obama's term. But Patrick Bet-David argues the recovery wasn't as robust as it could have been. With job growth lagging where it was needed most, the middle class struggling, and much of the economic boom benefiting corporations more than everyday Americans. On foreign policy, JD Vance pulls no punches, pointing to the infamous red line in Syria where Obama warned against chemical weapon use but failed to follow through as a major credibility hit, and highlighting Libya, which was framed as a step toward peace but collapsed into chaos, with even Obama later admitting the intervention was a mistake. JD argues these failures reflected a style focused more on polished speeches than on boots-on-the-ground leadership. And while Obama was marketed as a unifier, both Patrick and JD contend that cultural and political divisions not only persisted but deepened, leaving his presidency marked by fractures rather than the healing he promised.
The point I want to make is, I gotta say, and shocker, newsflash here, I've defended Kamala Harris once, I'm about to defend Barack Obama once. So set to the side the hectoring and the tone of Obama when he went in and talking about black voters, like whatever, obviously I just criticized that. You know what I was watching him talk? You know what I thought to myself is, agree or disagree, and obviously I disagreed with about 99% of what he did when he was in office. He had substance.
Policies beyond healthcare and economics. Obama's education reform through Race to the Top aimed to boost standards, but, as Patrick Bet-David notes, its impact was muddled, with schools still struggling, funding issues unresolved, and promised sweeping changes falling short. What Patrick and JD emphasize most, though, is Obama's branding genius, which they argue was his strongest suit: carefully crafted public appearances, late-night show cameos, curated Spotify playlists, and a social media presence that captured the cultural moment, making him more brand ambassador than policy powerhouse. His speeches were iconic, but Patrick and JD question whether those powerful moments translated into lasting policy change or simply gave people the thrill of inspiration without tangible results. They also highlight how his narrative often overshadowed controversies, from the IRS targeting scandal to Benghazi, with rhetoric used to shield his image more than address hard facts. In the end, Patrick and JD challenge viewers to consider whether Obama's presidency was truly packed with substance, or just packaged to look that way, cutting through the cheer to ask the uncomfortable questions about the gap between his speechcraft and his actual results. It's a hot-button debate without easy answers, and they want you in on the conversation. Was Obama's legacy built on policy prowess or marketing mastery? Drop your thoughts in the comments and help drive this critical discussion.